we'll continue to see further outbreaks of rain and low cloud affecting parts of North East Scotland, and some heavier outbreaks of rain pushing back into Northern Ireland by the end of the night. But for most, it turns drier, and further east, we'll see some clear spells, so temperatures perhaps could dip into kind of high single figures in some rural areas. But across North East Scotland, we'll hold on to quite a lot of low clouds and quite murky conditions as well. Some outbreaks of rain and drizzle for Shetland and Orkney first thing on Sunday morning. Some more persistent rain pushing back into southwest Scotland, so parts of Ayrshire and Argyll, for example, and certainly Northern Ireland as well. Some heavy bursts of rain developing here through the morning. The odd spit and spot of rain or light shower across parts of Wales and the southwest, but actually many areas of England and Wales will begin the day on Sunday with a lot of dry weather, and actually some hazy sunshine for eastern England and eastern Scotland for a time on Sunday too. So here that should help to lift those temperatures, and actually a much warmer day to come, perhaps by the afternoon temperatures into the low 20s for many. Further west though, we continue to see spells of rain pushing in from the Atlantic, particularly across Northern Ireland, northwest England and western Scotland. Some heavy bursts of rain here, but a warmer day nonetheless, 18 or 19 degrees in the north and the west. The rain pushes southeastwards on Sunday night, so a wet day to come for many parts of England and Wales. Some heavy bursts of rain at times pushing their way slowly eastwards, so pretty damp and soggy picture for much of the day in the east and the southeast. Brighter skies with showers follow, and that showery and temperatures a little bit below average.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. Put a new car on the drive or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The GB News audience is different, it's unique, because they see through the nonsense.
We want to
debate with each other. We want to listen and maybe learn.
We have a chat. That's what we do. We try and have a chat.
They'll watch my programme while they're eating their tea. They'll watch breakfast while they're busy getting their kids ready for school.
We want to hear what matters to you, what is news for you.
And what's brought you out here today? What are the biggest issues affecting this particular area?
The audience are the best thing about GB News.
Their friends, their family. They're people who need to have their voices heard.
They're passionate about the channel, they're passionate about what they believe in.
The one thing about GB News is you get a chance to speak.
Talk to me about why so many people have gathered here today.
Do you want to say something back in return? The GB News audience is what makes GB News special.
It's incredible to see.
They shape our programmes, they shape our output, and they shape our channel.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Hello, good evening. It is 9 o'clock. I'm Nana Akwe. I'm in for Alex Armstrong tonight.
The new United Kingdom government will never withdraw from the European Convention on Human Rights.
Lord Hermer has complained, he's not complained, he's claimed that Reform UK would let migrants drown in the Channel. Turns out that he has a history with comments like this. Tonight, I'll expose the comments, unconditional love for international law and the harm it is doing to our country. And I'll be joined by Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philps. Also,
we believe in making America great again. You can't do that unless you protect your borders. I'd encourage our friends in the UK to follow the same path.
the left are in meltdown over J.D. Vance's comments on the tragic murder of Henry Novak. But why are we debating whether he can talk about UK politics? He's speaking up for the silent majority of Brits. Plus,
Reform is not a Conservative party. It is a populist party.
Michael Gove claims that Reform UK are merely a populist party. Is he right? Also, middle-class white men have been banned from a public sector internship. Why is this sort of discrimination still allowed in Britain? And what could possibly go wrong with dancing robotics? So on my panel tonight, former Director of Communications for Reform UK, Gowan Towler, former Conservative MP, Jane Stevenson, and former Labour advisor, Matthew Laza. And what's going on here? Yes, a huge 2 hours coming up, but first, your latest news with Bethany Elsey.
Good evening. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 9:02. 4 more men have admitted charges of violent disorder after police came under attack during protests in response to Henry Novak's death. Clashes erupted in Southampton on Tuesday over the 18-year-old student's treatment by police. The teenager was handcuffed while he lay dying in the street after his killer falsely claimed he'd been racially abused by him. 11 people in total have been charged in relation to the disorder. Meanwhile, Downing Street has accused J.D. Vance of trying to stir up division after he blamed the mass invasion of migrants for Henry's murder. His family have repeatedly said they don't want his death to be used to create further division. Billionaire businessman David Sullivan has resigned as chair of West Ham with immediate effect. The 77-year-old says he's leaving the role after 16 years to fight what he calls false accusations about his personal life. BBC Panorama and The Times newspaper are due to publish their joint investigation into serious historic allegations on Monday. Mr. Sullivan denies the claims. Sir Keir Starmer will host the leaders of Ukraine, France and Germany at number 10 tomorrow to discuss ongoing support for Ukraine in its war with Russia. It follows a week of heightened hostilities between the two sides. Today, Ukraine launched a large-scale drone attack on St. Petersburg in retaliation to Moscow's strikes on 3 districts overnight, in which 1 person was killed. On Friday, Vladimir Putin rejected a proposal to meet Volodymyr Zelensky for face-to-face talks. Pope Leo has urged global leaders to stop using divisive and polarising narratives to gain popularity and called on them to listen to the world's cries for peace. Speaking at the Royal Palace in Madrid, ahead of a week-long tour of Spain, the Pope says he hopes the visit would set an example to the world about respecting every human being. He's due to visit a church-run shelter for the homeless and will meet migrants in the Canary Islands. It's the first time the Pope has visited the country since 2011. Some of the last surviving D-Day veterans have been commemorating the 82nd anniversary of the invasion. Nearly 160,000 Allied troops landed in northern France on the 6th of June 1944, laying the foundations for victory over Nazi Germany. This year's events are the first since almost 100 more names were added to the British Normandy Memorial, which lists troops who died in the campaign. And in tennis, Mira Andreeva has won the women's singles at the French Open, securing her first ever Grand Slam title. The 19-year-old Russian's 6-3, 6-2 victory makes her the youngest women's champion in Paris since Monica Seles back in 1992. Those are the latest headlines. I'll have more for you at 10 o'clock.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Alex Armstrong Tonight with me, Nana Aquare. Now, Lord Hermer's Britain's Attorney General, and Sir Keir Starmer's best buddy is at it again.
So what Reform and the Tories have to answer is, well, what would you do? You wouldn't be able to have deals with France and Germany because they are contingent upon being members of it.
Well, I tell you what they say they do. They say they'd round people up on the beaches and send them somewhere else.
Well, I think what they mean by that is they let people drown in the water, and that is not a British way to deal with it. That is not commensurate with our values.
Yeah, that is the chief legal advisor to the UK government, claiming that the Tories and Reform UK would deliberately let migrants drown in the Channel. But then this doesn't really surprise me because Mr Hermer has a history of making outrageous claims and comparisons. Here he is comparing Reform's policy to the Nazis.
The claim that international law is fine as far as it goes, but can be put aside when conditions change, is a claim that was made in the early 1930s by realist jurists in Germany, most notably Carl Schmitt.
Hermer did admit that his comment was clumsy, but he stopped short of apologising, essentially branding all ordinary Brits who want to protect our sovereign borders by leading the ECHR as far right. But of course, international law is more important than the British people, isn't it, Mr Hermer?
Now, I'm proud to say that since taking office, this new United Kingdom government has taken steps to uphold our obligations and the international rules-based system. The new United Kingdom government will never withdraw from the European Convention on Human Rights or refuse to comply with judgments of the court.
So what does he make of our current immigration system? Well, this week he claimed that Labour was, quote, starting to be pretty effective in dealing with the boats because of our ties with the European courts. Meanwhile, a report this week showed thousands of failed asylum seekers are living in Britain without the Home Office knowing where they are. They are failed asylum seekers, by the way. And as a forensic lawyer, I'm sure he'd like to review the facts and figures. Well, here they are. Small boat crossings are 45% up since the election, and 73,000 have crossed under Sir Keir Starmer, the highest figure for any Prime Minister. It is clear to me that human rights lawyers like Hermer and Starmer are clearly part of the problem because they put the human rights claims of illegal immigrants over protecting our border. Britain has to leave the ECHR so that we can get a grip on the small boat crisis. There must be a framework which allows us to deport dangerous foreign criminals who want to do harm to our country. But comments like this from the Attorney General show who really has the greatest influence on policy. The bigger problem when it comes to dealing with immigration is ingrained in our institutions. That, alongside the government's unconditional love of international law and the utter contempt it shows towards the citizens, so us, is astonishing. Lord Hermer and co are completely out of touch. Well, let's get the thoughts of my panel. Former Director of Communications for Reform UK, Graham Towler, former Conservative MP Jane Stevenson, and ex-Labour advisor Matthew Laza. All right, Matthew Laza, I feel compelled to come to you first.
I thought you might.
I have to really do that. Look, it does appear that the rights of those who've come here illegally and some who failed their asylum, so are meant to be sent back, because that would effectively mean they've broken the law. It seems they come before the British public.
No, I don't think that's the case. I think what he was saying, I mean, I think sometimes his choice of language is rather clumsy, but what he was saying is that Reform are just talking nonsense if they think that you can intercept the boats in the English Channel, turn them back and dump them in France if you left the ECHR, because France won't take them. And what we actually need to do is have an agreement that we get people, we have a lot fewer people, indeed almost nobody, I hope, eventually, ever crossing the Channel. So, and of course, when he's saying about British values, we've seen Reform attack the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, one of the great institutions of Britain, which has now become...
Do you mean the taxi service?
Well, I don't think it's a taxi service. I think it's doing what it's always done, which is saving people in peril. Look, I don't want people coming across the Channel in small boats. I want fewer migrants crossing Europe and ending up in the Channel. That's what's happening. In terms of fewer migrants are getting into Europe, we need to have fewer ever getting anywhere near the Channel. And that's about putting Britain first. It's not about not sharing British values. In fact, I think it's the exact opposite. I think what he's saying is actually very in tune with British values.
Joining me now is Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp. Chris Philp, welcome to the programme. Good to see you. Chris, what do you make of what Lord Hermer is saying? He's basically saying that, Nigel Farage will let people drown simply if we leave the ECHR.
Well, I think it's absolutely disgraceful and disgusting what Lord Hermer said. Those of us who want to end these illegal crossings, of course, don't want people to drown, and no one would drown. In fact, if we stop these crossings, it will actually be safer because people are drowning. At the moment, there was 1 year when I think almost 100 people drowned. So actually stopping these crossings will save lives. But the truth is, to stop these crossings, we need to leave the ECHR, the European Convention on Human Rights, which will enable us to deport every single illegal immigrant who crosses the Channel within a week of arrival back to their country of origin if possible, or a safe third country, for example, Rwanda, if not. And common sense tells you that if you deport the illegal immigrants pretty much as soon as they arrive, with no court appeal, no asylum claim, no human rights claim, no messing around, if they know they're going to get deported, then obviously they won't bother making crossing in the first place. They'll simply stay in France. And let's also keep in mind that these people, these illegal immigrants, are not fleeing from a war zone. They're leaving France. There is no war in France. Nobody needs to flee from France to come to the UK. The only reason they do it is because they know they get a cushy deal here with the hotels and everything else. Well, all of that has to end.
Well, he seems to think that Labour are being pretty effective, it says here, in dealing with the boats because of the cooperation which relied on Britain sticking with the European Convention of Human Rights and the Council of Europe. So he's saying that actually we've been quite effective.
Well, that's nonsense. That's nonsense on two levels. First, that the small boat crisis is somehow under control or doing OK is obviously laughable. I think last week alone, 1,000 illegal immigrants crossed. Since Starmer became Prime Minister, 73,000 illegal immigrants have crossed the English Channel. That's more than under any other Prime Minister. And a 45% increase compared to the same time before the election. The truth is, human rights lawyers like Lord Hermer and Keir Starmer are part of the problem. And let's not also forget, almost all of these, or the majority of these illegal immigrants are young men, many of whom go on to commit very serious violent offences, including murder and multiple rapes. So this is not just a border security crisis, it's a public safety crisis as well. So number one, Hermer's claim that the problem's under control is nonsense. Number two, he claims that, firstly, he talks about cooperation with the French. Well, the cooperation with the French is not doing any good at the moment. They only stop 1/3 of the crossing attempts, and even those people, they just let them go straight away, and they just try again the next day. I was over in Calais and Dunkirk last summer, and I saw French police ushering illegal immigrants onto a bus, a public bus, that was heading towards the coast for embarkations. They made no attempt to stop that. And the idea that you need to be in the ECHR to have European international cooperation is also total nonsense. The European Union and European Union member states like France have perfectly good cooperation on all kinds of issues, including national security, with Canada, with Australia, with New Zealand, none of whom, obviously, are in the ECHR. This whole claim by these hanging, wet human rights lawyers that you have to be in the ECHR to have international cooperation is complete nonsense.
Do you think there's a sort of slight financial incentive in it for these lawyers? Because obviously the litigious process, the number of appeals, they're not going to do it for free. They have to be paid. It is an industry that has evolved from all of this boat crossing, not only for the smugglers, but also for the side shows, which are all the lawyers, all the NGOs and everything else around that feeds into this and makes money out of it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There is a whole industry around the legal claims that go with immigrants, illegal immigrants, asylum claims, human rights claims, modern slavery claims, endless, on and on and on. These human rights lawyers and immigration lawyers are making a lot of money. Lord Hermer and Keir Starmer, and actually many Labour MPs, probably a majority of Labour MPs in fact, it's in a sense it's even worse. They actually believe that we should let these illegal immigrants into the country. They believe that the human rights of illegal immigrants are more important than protecting women and girls in the UK from being attacked, as we've often seen. There are so many cases where someone has entered the country either illegally or legally, a foreign national, has committed like rape or very serious offences, and then when the government tries to deport them, the human rights lawyers fight that. And quite often, Labour politicians will support the criminal. There was a notorious letter signed, I think it was in January or February 2020, signed by 80 or 90 Labour MPs, including Keir Starmer, objecting to the deportation of certain dangerous criminals. It was back to Jamaica.
Chris, we're losing your audio a bit, sadly, Chris, so we'll definitely have to leave it there. But thank you very much for your thoughts. That is Chris Philp, who's the Shadow Home Secretary. Thank you very much. All right, let's get the thoughts of my panel. Joining me, former Director of Communications for Reform UK, Gwen Towler, former Conservative MP Jane Stevenson, and ex-Labour advisor Matthew Laza. All right, I'm going to go straight to you, Jane Stevenson, because I'm just wondering why, if potentially we leave the ECHR, how that would mean that we're letting people drown in the Channel. I'm just... Because he's a clever man, is Lord Hermer, so that doesn't equal...
He seems clever, but entirely lacking in any imagination at all, and he seems to think that the problem of people coming across the Channel can be solved within the current legal frameworks. It clearly can't, and there is one reason people will continue to drown. People will continue to get in the boats, and that's because you have a really good likelihood you will get to stay in the United Kingdom. As soon as you don't have any chance whatsoever of staying here if you make that crossing, nobody will make the crossing and nobody will drown. That is the key point. So we need to make sure it's not rewarded. You know, no bad behaviour is rewarded. It's basic dog training.
Well, they would say that actually it's not bad behaviour. A lot of these people are refugees seeking asylum in the UK, and, you know, that's the only way they can do that is by being on terra firma in this country.
It is, but I think there is a wider issue, certainly, because under current asylum laws that were drawn up in 1951 for Europe, just for post-World War II, they now apply to everyone in the world. Mathematically, it can't possibly work because, you know, most of China could claim, I don't have freedom of religion or political affiliation. You know, for the modern world, we need to totally rewrite. My solution would be you get to go to third countries, and the West, in return, would love bomb those countries with education, trade, lots of mechanisms government can control to really stimulate those economies so people wouldn't move about so much. But global movement is completely different to when our legislation was drawn up. That's what needs to change. It's much bigger than just the ECHR. It's the whole thing.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Yes, I'm clearly, Lord Hermer has a tradition of overstating and hyperbolising. No, of course we wouldn't want people to drown. And as both Chris Philp has said and as Rebecca said, the way you stop people drowning is stopping them getting on boats. And he said, you couldn't possibly have a deal with France if you're not in the ECHR. That's absolute balderdash. Joseph Bardella, the favourite to win the presidency of France, has already said that he would do a deal with Britain to take everybody back. Because, you know, it's not just good for the UK and for the migrants themselves not to be on those boats, not to have that risk of drowning, and not for cluttering up our streets with criminality and all the rest, and expense and cost. But if they don't have a chance to get to Britain, guess what? They won't spend their times in shanty towns in the northern France, and that's good for France too. It stops. And there's an interesting parallel with Australia, when they stopped the boats in Australia. What happened? It wasn't when Australia stopped people arriving and taking them to Naui and various other small islands for elsewhere. Boats still came. They were still drowning. It's when they turned them round and took them back. That's when the boat stops. And guess what? Nobody drowned. And when the Labour government in Australia reintroduced and stopped the pulling back and taking back, the boats started coming again and people started drowning again. It's a failure of will, it's a failure of imagination, and frankly, it's a failure of international law. And Lord Hermer can, frankly, stuff it up his chute. If he... I didn't say which chute, did I?
Matthew Lars, this cannot be so, surely.
Well, I think the first thing is, Chris Philp just, talks absolute nonsense, because he talks about the hotels when the Tories were responsible for the hotels in the first place. I don't think the government has the Labour government has yet solved that problem, but it's not a problem that it started. It's a problem that it inherited. Ongoing.
But everything is a problem that.
Well, absolutely. But he cannot. No, yeah. He cannot keep saying, he cannot sort of claim that the hotels is some invention of Keir Starmer. I mean, look, and he can't claim that anybody wants to see people on the boats. His government said it would stop the boats. The Tory government, it didn't. It singularly failed.
Or anybody wants anybody to drown.
Let finish.
Well, you said it was
they're
not words I would have used, Gwen. I said that right at the beginning. No. They're not words that I would have used. But I think, also, I don't think that it's responsible of Nigel to have attacked the RNLI as he has, who stopped people drowning. And so, look, you're putting a lot there, Gawain, on doing a deal with a person who may potentially become the president of France.
It's a lot better than we've had before.
As things stand, France won't take anybody back, OK? And so, therefore, you're going to face the prospect of people coming on boats and you're going to have nothing to do with them.
Which is why scrapping Rwanda was such an
300 people at £1 billion.
Well, how many? What about the one in, one out? That was 50 people.
The one in, one out. I've never been a fan of the one in, one out.
Smash the gangs. Smash the gangs.
One in, one out was supposed to expand, so Rwanda could have expanded. So you start with a small sample.
I don't think one in, one out was the solution, and frankly, the government has and neither, frankly, I don't think this is the Home Secretary, the current Home Secretary.
Well, it isn't.
Who is concentrating on things like bringing legal migration down and stopping the indefinite leave to remain racket.
All right. Well, listen, a spokesperson for the Attorney General stated the Attorney General repeatedly argues that this government has the steely determination to tackle illegal immigration, and this is not in tension with upholding our human rights obligations. He also makes clear his concern about how some on the hard right are using dehumanising rhetoric about migrants, and that this is not the British way. All right, well, perhaps it's the great British giveaway. We've given away pretty much everything, haven't we? We tried to give away Chagos, that didn't work out. But what about this? Your chance to win £76,543.21 in tax-free cash. Here are the details.
This is the chance to enjoy the summer of your dreams.
As we could be making all of those dreams come true this year with a totally tax-free £76,543.21 in tax-free cash to be won.
Someone really has to win it, and it could be you. What would you do with all that cash?
That could be your year on us.
Or find yourself in the lap of five-star luxury. Somewhere like here, the Imperial Island Resort in Paphos. There's one guaranteed winner, and that really could be you. So make sure you don't miss out.
For a chance to win £76,543.21 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Right, we'll stay with us. Coming up, Lord Gove has claimed that Reform UK are merely a populist party. Is he right? But before that, middle-class white men have been banned from a public sector internship. How is this allowed? This is Alex Armstrong Tonight with me, Nana Acquia, only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Welcome back to Alex Armstrong Tonight with me, Nana Acquia. Now, middle-class white men have been banned from applying for a taxpayer-funded public sector internship with the National Audit Office, with eligibility limited to women, people of black heritage and those from lower socio-economic backgrounds. But it's not the first time eligibility criteria for internships has been excluded white male applicants with similar schemes previously operated by MI5, MI6, GCHQ and the Bank of England. So should the excluding of certain groups ever be allowed to happen in those kind of circumstances? Well, we're joined by anti-racism campaigner Iman Ayson and broadcaster Alex Dyke. All right, Alex Dyke, I will start with you. What do you think?
Well, Nana, being a middle-class white guy, I'm outraged by this. I think it's absolutely crazy. I mean, there are more of us probably in Britain than anyone else. We pay our taxes. This is funded through taxpayers' money, and we are being discriminated against. What kind of message does this send to some young, white, working-class lad who's gone through school and university now to be told that he can't actually apply for this? It's outrageous.
Iman?
Oh, thank you for having me, Nana. I appreciate your sentiment, Alex. But let's just be honest. I think many of your cohort would probably talk about white working class boys. So let's just keep it completely and utterly real right now. The reason why we have this these DEI initiatives in regards to equity is because facts are the facts, and there is empirical evidence. Most recent reports include the UCL Centre for Education Policy and Equalising Opportunities, as well as another survey, a US study from sociological science, and that covers 13 years of evidence, which is middle-class white men have ruled the roost. And so the white working class boys don't get a look in. The middle class, or rather the working class black people, don't get a look in. So more of the tell is what we're talking about is the fact that there is a imbalance in regards to class. And so if you care about your white working class boys, sir, which I'm sure you do, you're a right winger, then we need to think about the fact that we need DEI initiatives for those individuals. White working class boys are the least, or rather the lowest, have the lowest GCSE rates. They are underrepresented in terms of elite universities. They are also have the lowest engagement and enthusiasm for school. And so if there was, I would argue, if there was a DEI initiative for white working class boys, they would probably be better off. But they're not, because white middle class men like you, who have literally ruled the roost for a long time, evidence shows, we're talking over 13 years, if not more, have decided to prioritise yourselves over those individuals.
You're making this sound like a punishment. You're making this sound like a punishment, saying you ruled the roost, you've ruled the roost. So what happens now then? We just get banned from everything. Transport for London have done this. The Bank of England have done this. What about if every company starts doing this? What is going to happen to white middle-class men who take up a huge proportion of Britain? So we become unemployable, do we?
No, and I appreciate what you're saying, Alex, but I just want to be honest. What we're really talking about is class stratification, and I appreciate that many people class me as an individual who simply just talks about race. But let's just be honest. In terms of empirical data, it is all about class. Class is intrinsically linked to race and gender, but first and foremost, it's class. What you see from these internship programs and these DEI initiatives is trying to recalibrate and correct issues where there is too much. In fact, I'll give you an example. It actually reminds me of the Reform Party policy in regards to immigration and welfare. In other words, if there's too much of something, you might want to reduce it, shut it down temporarily, recalibrate, correct it, so that there is equal opportunity. And that's what I'm talking about in regards to middle class and working class. And then gender and race is added into it.
One second. If there's too much of anything, I hear you, but this is a majority white country. So you're going to have a higher proportion of people who are white doing certain things. So I don't get why there needs to be an exact equal representation. If you were in Africa, you wouldn't expect to have, a job description that would say, oh, no people of colour because we haven't got enough, no white people here because we haven't got enough, or can we have white people here because we haven't got enough white people? They just wouldn't be bothered about it. Alex?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is sending out a dreadful message. And if you look at life, whether it's farming, there are hardly any black farmers or farmers of colour. If you go to Glastonbury, watch Glastonbury on the television this summer, and you look into the crowd, 99% of the people there will be white. If you go to a classic car show, it's going to be white middle-class men. That's just the thing that they are attracted to. So you can't just keep pigeonhole these people into these situations. It's crazy. And now we are being discriminated against because apparently we've ruled the roost. That's outrageous. This is just as much my country as it is yours.
Thank you. And at no point did I start with race. So I appreciate Nana's sentiment and I appreciate yours. What we're talking about is class. I just want to maybe slow down so I'm making sure that I'm cogent. We're talking about class here, right? So the internship programs are right now currently targeting social economic status, right? So middle class versus working class. Black people, ethnics and women is a byproduct. It's intrinsically linked to that. But first and foremost is class. And if middle class, maybe I didn't even maybe I wasn't so clear in terms of the data. Middle class men have always been In fact, I'll just give you a stats. 32% more likely, middle-class men are 32% more likely to be given internships and careers than working class individuals. So what I'm talking about is that disparity. And if we decide we're not going to do any DEI initiative to fix it, then what happens is you, sir, and your ilk continue to rule the roost. But if we care about working class,
sorry about
if we
that.
care
I'm
about,
very
allow
sorry.
me to finish, please. I did not interrupt you,
Very
Alexa,
quickly, Iman, because I've got to let him speak. So you've got about 10 seconds, Iman.
Thank you. If we logic dictates, if we continue down the same trajectory where we do not target the cohorts that are left behind, whether it is working class white boys, or whether it is ethnic minorities, if we do not target those individuals and help them in terms of equity, then logic dictates people like yourself will continue to rule the roost. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying we need to get a balance. Everyone keeps talking about equality,
final word to
right?
Alex.
So let's get our equality with equity.
Enough, Iman. Final word to Alex. Let's see what he has to say.
Okay, so I am white middle class, but when I went to school, it was when we had bands at school, and I was in band 3, the bottom band. And in my band, those white working class boys that you're talking about, they became the backbone of Britain. They became the plumbers and the bricklayers and the bus drivers and the train drivers and the cabbie drivers. They play an important part. What you're trying to do is you're trying to pigeonhole these people.
Let him finish, please, Iman.
You're trying to pigeonhole these people into places that they're probably not even that interested in going to in the first place.
Oh, what's bias?
Well, to be fair to him, there have been initiatives where they do try and, for example, the police try and get more black people in there, and black people just weren't applying. So you can't, and literally they just take the first person that comes along. I think the problem here is that we end up sacrificing quality if we start looking at characteristics of individuals instead of just seeing what they can bring to the table and whether they are even fit to do the job. And I would actually suggest that we are at a point where we could just start focusing on merit and what people can actually do, rather than what class they are, what colour they are, what their sexual preference is, and all of those things. All right, Iman, Aiton and Alex Dyke, thank you so much. All right, coming up, I'll be asking, why are we debating whether J.D. Vance can talk about UK politics when he is speaking up for the silent majority of Brits? But before that, Lord Gove has claimed that Reform are merely a populist party. Is he right? This is Alex Armstrong Tonight with me, Nana Acquia, only on GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I ticked that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're heading away this weekend, well, you've picked a good time as high pressure dominates much of Europe. Lots of sunshine, mostly dry as well. Across the Canary Islands, temperatures climbing towards the high 20s, a little bit fresher in Madeira. But for Portugal, much of Spain, as well as Italy, as we look towards parts of Greece and Turkey too. High pressure dominates. There's the odd shower around through Sunday across Greece in particular. But high pressure really is dominating next week to bring plenty of sunshine and temperatures in the high 20s. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, Sunday is promising to be a warmer day for many of us, particularly in the east in any sunshine, but there will be some further spells of rain in the north and the west. So today's area of low pressure now clearing away into the southern parts of the North Sea, but it's this wiggling weather front that will start to push in as we go through the course of tonight and into Sunday. So whilst it will turn a little bit dry through the course of this evening for most of us, even some clear spells, particularly across parts of England and Wales, we'll continue to see further outbreaks of rain and low cloud affecting parts of North East Scotland, and some heavier outbreaks of rain pushing back into Northern Ireland by the end of the night. But for most, it turns drier, and further east, we'll see some clear spells. So temperatures perhaps could dip into kind of high single figures in some rural areas. But across North East Scotland, we'll hold on to quite a lot of low clouds and quite murky conditions as well. Some outbreaks of rain and drizzle for Shetland and Orkney first thing on Sunday morning. Some more persistent rain pushing back into southwest Scotland, so parts of Ayrshire and Argyll, for example, and certainly Northern Ireland as well. Some heavy bursts of rain developing here through the morning. The odd spit and spot of rain or light shower across parts of Wales and the southwest, but actually many areas of England and Wales will begin the day on Sunday with a lot of dry weather and actually some hazy sunshine for eastern England and eastern Scotland for a time on Sunday too. So here that should help to lift those temperatures and actually a much warmer day to come, perhaps by the afternoon, temperatures into the low 20s for many. Further west, though, we continue to see spells of rain pushing in from the Atlantic, particularly across Northern Ireland, northwest England and western Scotland. Some heavy bursts of rain here, but a warmer day nonetheless, 18 or 19 degrees in the north and the west. The rain pushes southeastwards on Sunday night, so a wet day to come for many parts of England and Wales. Some heavy bursts of rain at times pushing their way slowly eastwards, so pretty damp and soggy picture for much of the day in the east and the southeast. Brighter skies with showers follow, and that sets the scene for the week ahead. Quite unsettled and cool, showery, and temperatures a little bit below average.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
GB loyalty points are here. They're our way of saying thank you for spending time with GB News. Through commenting on your say, voting in You Decide polls and shaping the debate, you can earn GB loyalty points. Unlock rewards, reach milestones and climb leaderboards. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be part of them. Get started by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/loyalty points. Welcome back to Alex Armstrong tonight with me, Nana Acquia. Now, Tory peer Michael Gove has caused a stir this week with his assessment of Reform UK. He claimed that he is more right-wing than its leader, Nigel Farage, arguing that the Conservatives are the only credible party on the right.
Conservatives must stop thinking that Reform is somehow a Conservative party that is composed of genuine Conservatives who just happen to find themselves wearing a slightly different colour of rosette. Reform is not a Conservative party. It is a populist party.
So where does the future of the right lie? And is Lord Gove right? I don't think he's right. I think he's in the left, somewhere in the middle there. I think the whole Tory party turned there, didn't they? Let's get the thoughts of my panel. Former Director of Communications for Reform UK, Cohen Towler, former Conservative MP Jane Stevenson, and ex-Labour advisor Matthew Laza. Jane Stevenson, I have to come to you. Lord Gove, he seems to think that he is more right-wing than Nigel Farage and Reform UK.
It's a funny, but I think politics has really shifted in the last few years. And I think what Nigel Farage has done quite successfully is blurred those old lines of left and right, because there's lots of Labour people going to Reform, there's some former Conservatives. And I think it's an interesting question about what is now right-wing and what is seen as something more progressive and with solutions to where we are now. So I think this argument will develop, and it's interesting to watch, but politically a split on the right, if we're still thinking of right and left, it's not electorally good because it opens up a majority like Keir Starmer has that's horrific for the UK. So I did speak about uniting the right a lot. I think it's looking less and less likely as we gear up towards the next election, but people like Jacob Rees-Mogg as well, a lot of us who were arguing for more reform-leaning policies, and I resigned to try and toughen up the Rwanda bill, give an exemption for ECHR rulings. There were lots of people within the Conservatives who are clearly very much on the right. I'm not sure I put Michael Gove in that list, but maybe on some things. I think people are... If you ask on different issues, I think people come out more right and more left or more... I don't think people sit in these little boxes. So I think you have to look at someone's whole view of where they think the country should be going, really.
Do you think it's a bit old hat, a bit old school, this right-left thing? Because really, because it seems that Labour Party have shifted to a place where, you know, the sort of Islington-y...
He didn't just say right, though, did he? He just said populist. As if being an unpopular party was a good thing. and that seems bonkers. Look, if I recall rightly, Michael Gove, Lord Gove, worshipped at the shrine of St Greta. This seems like a deeply right-wing thing for him to have done. I suppose he thought she was the reincarnation of Marie Antoinette or something, this slightly odd child leading a charge against, I don't know, corporations, capitalists and success. But for him to describe himself as more right-wing than Nigel Farage, OK, if you want to be, that's fine. We don't care. We don't care. We've set an agenda of policies, many of which the Tories have taken up. Good of you to take on the ECHR policy. We quite agree. We've been saying it for years. Good of you to be against net zero. We quite agree. We've been saying it for years. For them to then claim, as they are, that, or as Michael is claiming, that he's in some way more right-wing, it's for the birds, little tweety ones.
I think reform shifted that Overton window, and I'm really glad about
welfare
that.
reform as well, on every single matrix that Kemi Badenoch, to her credit, she's doing quite a good job, but the way she's doing a good job is looking at our policy cupboard and going, I'll have that.
Oh, I know. I think Kemi's quite solid. My question would be if she can take the very centrist
I agree, but I think
where she
Mr Gove,
who cares?
Mr Gove, who shot down Boris Johnson's first chance at leader when there wasn't a COVID epidemic about to ruin him, when he could have done something far better over Brexit. And I'm sorry, Gove may have stood for Brexit, but it was very much it didn't feel like conviction.
Well, I mean, it's not normally a position I find myself in, mildly defending Michael Gove, but I will have a stab. It's not my natural territory. I think what he means, I mean, you're absolutely right, Gawain, saying that, you know, you have to be careful when your party's not that popular in crying out others for being populist. I think what he's saying is that at its heart, Reform is, in political science terms, is a populist party rather than a Conservative party. You say about welfare reform, well, for example, I think he would argue that the instincts of Reform are not the same as those of small state Conservatives on some things, like, for example, the fact that Reform had about 5 policies on the two-child cap, etc. So I think he would claim that the Tory party, which presumably he's still just about a supporter, are going to go into the next election as a kind of low-tax, small government party. And perhaps...
Which is the opposite of what they did in government.
Absolutely. I mean, look, because what they did in government, particularly... I mean, in the early days, under the austerity era, they were trying to slim the state, but then obviously it got a lot larger, especially under Boris Johnson. Now, COVID played a part, but it wasn't just about COVID. So I think the answer will be they're going to have to atone for their sins if what he says is not going to be nonsense.
I think some things Michael Gove, I will defend. He was MHCLG, the Housing Communities Secretary, and Wolverhampton got the first ministry outside London, which was in my patch. And that was a really good effort, and there was that commitment to be a little bit more interventionist, which is less right-wing, but it was having a difference for working-class white kids living in little bits of Wolverhampton.
And she didn't do a bad job at education.
No, education reform...
To be fair, he did a good job.
Education outcomes were vastly improved under the Conservatives.
And now we've got Bridget Phillipson meddling where she shouldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes no sense at all. She's just messed the whole thing up, hasn't she, really? Well, coming up, I'll be asking why are we debating whether J.D. Vance can talk about UK politics when he's actually speaking up for the silent majority of Brits. But next, M&S have a plan to tackle youth unemployment. Find out what that is next.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it? We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Baking award-winning biscuits. Sawley Kitchen handcraft a variety of shortbreads, cookies and ginger thins. And the North Yorkshire Bakery is celebrating National Biscuit Day.
I mean, a whole day dedicated to the biscuit, like you have to, right? I think it just allows us to slow down a bit. We're a nation of tea lovers. We like a nice brew, and it's just having that little thing on the side. And for us, we only use the best ingredients, top quality stuff, because we know how important a good biscuit is to go with that brew.
The artisan family business prides itself on how their biscuits are made and the inspiration behind them.
So we take traditional biscuits like cookies, ginger thins, and put our own spin on it. And I'd probably say that ginger thins are the most popular. When you snap it, that noise is amazing.
Down the road from the bakery, we asked the people of Ripon for their opinion.
Well, it's probably a Jaffa cake, but that might be a bit controversial, mightn't it? Because some people say it's not a biscuit, but that's my favourite. I always used to have it when I used to go and visit my nan when I was a kid.
Definitely a chocolate hobnob. It's comforting. And no, I'm not a dunker.
Jaffa cake.
Why is it your favourite?
Because it has jelly inside it.
Chocolate hobnob. I just like the texture of the hobnob, actually.
Chocolate digestive. Lovely creamy chocolate, crunchy biscuit.
Jaffa cake, because it's nice and soft and it's got a lovely filling and they're always the same.
So whether you opt for a bourbon or a Biscoff, today is the perfect excuse to bring out the biscuits. And it's up to you if you dip them in a cuppa or two.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening. Welcome back to Alex Armstrong Tonight with me, Nana Akua. Now, Marks & Spencer's has announced a new training scheme aimed at helping more than 1,000 young people into work after youth unemployment rose to 16.9% last month. That is shocking. It'll give them at least 6 months of training before they move on to full-time roles. So is this a step in the right direction? Well, joining me now is the President of Students for Reform UK, Jack Eccles. Jack, thank you very much. Is this some welcome news at last? There might be some jobs for some people, some students, young people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely thrilled that Marks & Spencer's are throwing the hat into the ring to help tackle youth unemployment. And what I'll also know is that it specifies that you don't actually need a degree to apply to this, which is amazing, because what we're seeing are too many young people applying for degrees, pointless degrees like gender studies, for example. They're not getting a job when they've graduated. And if you actually look at the figures, up to 700,000 graduates are now out of work. So it's great that Marks & Spencer's are getting stuck in and that there is no higher education requirement to apply to this scheme. I think it's a big step in the right direction. But I'll just say quickly as well that shouldn't the Labour government really be helping to tackle this? Why are they leaving it to businesses to do it themselves? It does show how incompetent Labour has been in this topic.
Do you think, I mean, they would say that they've tried to increase the minimum wage. That's good for young people, right? No? They would say that they've got an apprenticeship scheme now, haven't they? With, I think it's 300,000 places that they're going to now fund for young people. So they would say that they're actually doing something about it.
Well, the issue is with increasing minimum wage. It's only good to a point because obviously the more you increase the minimum wage, it's harder for employers to hire younger people, because obviously the benefit about hiring young people is they cost less because they have typically less experience. So I think that just saying, or Labour coming out and just saying simply that we're going to increase the minimum wage for young people isn't actually necessarily a benefit when you actually look at the figures, because youth unemployment is at an all-time high. And I think that it's absolutely shocking that Labour haven't adequately addressed this, in my opinion. And also, if we look at the statistics, I think for one British young person, 27 non-EU migrants, young non-EU migrants, are hired. So it really does show that there's a two-tier system when it comes to hiring regarding young people.
Well, I guess, I think they're a bit short-sighted with their notion that they thought if we increase the minimum wage, young people will get more jobs. They actually didn't realise that if they did that, what would actually happen is that companies would go, well, why am I hiring a young people for the price of somebody who's older and more experienced? I'm going to do that instead. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, it is shocking. Well, listen, I've got to go because I've got to read a statement, but I've got to say thank you very much, Jack, from President of Students for Reform UK, Jack Eccles, for joining me with his view. Right, well, in a statement, Sir Keir Starmer has said that his government are tackling youth unemployment, investing in a 45 million youth guarantee initiative, giving away to every 18 to 21-year-old access to an apprenticeship, training or support to find work, whilst also finding more work, experience and job placements. Wow. All right, well, we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, I hear them. At least they're doing something, right? OK, next, I'll be asking, why are we debating whether J.D. Vance can talk about UK politics when he is speaking up for the silent majority of Brits? And also, lots of other politicians from this country have spoken so much about Donald Trump and his presidency. So are they complete hypocrites? This is Alex Armstrong Tonight with me, Nana Aquia, only on GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, Sunday is promising to be a warmer day for many of us, particularly in the east in any sunshine, but there will be some further spells of rain in the north and the west. So today's area of low pressure now clearing away into the southern parts of the North Sea, but it's this wiggling weather front that will start to push in as we go through the course of tonight and into Sunday. So whilst it will turn a little bit dry through the course of this evening for most of us, even some clear spells, particularly across parts of England and Wales, we'll continue to see further outbreaks of rain and low cloud affecting parts of North East Scotland and some heavier outbreaks of rain pushing back into Northern Ireland by the end of the night. But for most, it turns drier, and further east, we'll see some clear spells. So temperatures perhaps could dip into kind of high single figures in some rural areas. But across North East Scotland, we'll hold on to quite a lot of low clouds and quite murky conditions as well. Some outbreaks of rain and drizzle for Shetland and Orkney first thing on Sunday morning. Some more persistent rain pushing back into southwest Scotland, so parts of Ayrshire and Argyll, for example, and certainly Northern Ireland as well. Some heavy bursts of rain developing here through the morning. The odd spit and spot of rain or light shower across parts of Wales and the southwest, but actually many areas of England and Wales will begin the day on Sunday with a lot of dry weather and actually some hazy sunshine for eastern England and eastern Scotland for a time on Sunday too. So here that should help to lift those temperatures and actually a much warmer day to come, perhaps by the afternoon temperatures into the low 20s for many. Further west, though, we continue to see spells of rain pushing in from the Atlantic, particularly across Northern Ireland, northwest England and western Scotland. Some heavy bursts of rain here, but a warmer day nonetheless, 18 or 19 degrees in the north and the west. The rain pushes southeastwards on Sunday night, so a wet day to come for many parts of England and Wales. Some heavy bursts of rain at times pushing their way slowly eastwards, so pretty damp and soggy picture for much of the day in the east and the southeast. Brighter skies with showers follow, and that sets the scene for the week ahead. Quite unsettled and cool, showery, and temperatures a little bit below average.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
£76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I've been in Westminster for a long time.
But I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it? We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Good evening, it is 10 o'clock. I'm Nana Akweer, in for Alex Armstrong tonight.
The new United Kingdom government will never withdraw from the European Convention on Human Rights.
Lord Hermer has claimed that Reform UK would let migrants drown in the Channel. Turns out that he has a history with comments like this. Also,
we believe in making America great again. You can't do that unless you protect your borders. I'd encourage our friends in the UK to follow the same path.
the left are in meltdown over J.D. Vance's comments on the tragic murder of Henry Navadak. But why are we debating whether he can talk about UK politics? He's speaking up for the silent majority of Brits. Plus,
Reform is not a Conservative party. It is a populist party.
Michael Gove claims Reform are merely a populist party. Is he right? Also, as we review D-Day commemorations, we'll get stuck into debating about whether Britain today was worth fighting for and whether we are the leading military power that we once were. And speaking of breaking tonight, on the front of the Mail on Sunday, entire fleet of UK attack subs is unfit for war and stuck in the dock. And finally, what could possibly go wrong with dancing robots? Yes, those weren't dancing robots. Everything went wrong. On the panel tonight, former Director of Communications for Reform UK, Graham Towler, former Conservative MP, James Stevenson, and ex-Labour advisor, Matthew Laza. And what's going on here? There you go. A huge hour coming up. But first, let's get your latest news with Bethany Elsey.
Good evening. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 10 o'clock. 4 more men have admitted charges of violent disorder after police came under attack during protests in response to Henry Novak's death. Clashes erupted in Southampton on Tuesday over the 18-year-old student's treatment by police after he was handcuffed while he lay dying in the street. 11 people have been charged in relation to the disorder. Meanwhile, Downing Street has accused J.D. Vance of trying to stir up division after he blamed the mass invasion of migrants for Henry's murder. His family have repeatedly said they don't want his death to be used to create further division. Billionaire businessman David Sullivan has resigned as chair of West Ham with immediate effect. The 77-year-old says he's leaving the role after 16 years to fight what he calls false accusations about his personal life. BBC Panorama and the Times newspaper are due to publish their joint investigation into the serious historic allegations on Monday. Mr. Sullivan denies the claims. Sir Keir Starmer will host the leaders of Ukraine, France and Germany at Number 10 tomorrow to discuss ongoing support for Ukraine in its war with Russia. It follows a week of heightened hostilities between the two sides. And on Friday, Vladimir Putin rejected a proposal to meet Volodymyr Zelensky for face-to-face talks. Pope Leo has urged global leaders to stop using divisive and polarising narratives to gain popularity and called on them to listen to the world's cries for peace. Speaking at the Royal Palace in Madrid ahead of a week-long tour of Spain, the Pope says he hopes this visit would set an example to the world about respecting every human being. He's due to visit a church-run shelter for the homeless and will meet migrants in the Canary Islands. It's the first time a Pope has visited the country since 2011. Some of the last surviving D-Day veterans have been commemorating the 82nd anniversary of the invasion. Nearly 160,000 Allied troops landed in northern France on the 6th of June 1944, laying the foundations for victory over Nazi Germany. This year's events are the first since almost 100 more names were added to the British Normandy Memorial, which lists troops who died in the campaign. And in tennis, 19-year-old Russian Mira Andreeva has won the women's singles at the French Open, securing her first ever Grand Slam title. The 6-3, 6-2 victory is her 9th successive win and makes her the youngest women's champion in Paris since Monica Seles back in 1992. Those are your latest headlines. I'll have more for you at 11 o'clock.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Now, the Trump administration is keeping a close eye on the failures of this Labour government here in the UK, and thank goodness for it. JD Vance has previously intervened on soaring energy bills.
But isn't it a scandal that middle-class Brits, that people who are working hard and playing by the rules, can't afford to heat their home?
On threats to free speech here in Britain.
In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
And among many other issues on the crisis on our borders.
We believe in making America great again. You can't do that unless you protect your borders. I'd encourage our friends in the UK to follow the same path.
But the Vice President's latest intervention has caused the most outrage from the left because he dared to call out the rank hypocrisy of the British government's ideology in their reaction to the tragic murder of Henry Novak. JD Vance tweeted, "Henry Novak died the same way a citizen dies, abandoned, handcuffed by authorities who neither trusted nor cared for him. He would still be alive if the last few generations of European elites had stood their ground against the politics of self-hatred." So what is this ideology of self-hatred? Well, here was the Prime Minister reacting to the death of George Floyd in 2020.
Start by expressing shock and anger at the death of George Floyd. This has shone a light on racism and hatred experienced by many in the US and beyond. I'm surprised the Prime Minister hasn't said anything about this yet, but I do hope that next time he speaks to President Trump, he will convey to him the UK's abhorrence about his response to the events.
And here he was this week on the death of Henry Novak.
Exploiting this tragedy to create grievance and division would be wrong in any circumstances, but to do it when the family are expressly saying, please don't, is unforgivable.
Interesting. Here is Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy.
Well, I think...
Was it yes or no, Mr Lammy? Would you take the knee for Henry Novak?
I think no.
Embarrassing. But there was such a huge outcry after Nigel Farage dared to say this.
But I suggest the rest of us respond to this with pure, cold rage.
Downing Street was in meltdown over Vance's comments suggesting he is seeking to stir up division on our streets. But I think it is perfectly OK for our closest ally to take an interest in and, in my opinion, rightly express the concern for the majority of the British public. They have all been banging on about how Nigel Farage has been politicising this, but they are all politicising it. What do they expect us to do? Bend down and take the knee and be silent? What happened to Henry Novak is a lesson to us all. So instead of debating Vance's rights to give his opinion on UK politics, the left should be focusing on the content of his argument. The UK is in civilisational decline. We can all see it. But the politicians are in denial. They aren't listening. We have now got to the point where we are relying on the United States politicians to speak up for the silent majority of Brits. Right, well, let's get the thoughts of my panel. Former Director of Communications for Reform UK, Gwen Towler, former Conservative MP, Jane Stevenson, and ex-Labour advisor, Matthew Larser. I'm going to start with you, Matthew Larser.
Sure. I mean, I think it's absolutely outrageous what JD Vance is doing. I mean, I would pressure the whole thing, but every time JD Vance interferes in European politics, he has the exact opposite effect of the one he wants. He made a total fool, and I'm using fool when I could use a lot ruder words of himself, when he went to Hungary for the election a couple of months ago, when his endorsements saw the opposition party sweep away the authoritarian that he endorsed, and the largest ever victory for an opposition party. So in some ways, I think bring it on. If you look at Australia, you look at Canada, everywhere where the pathetic Trump machine tries to interfere, it has the opposite effect to the one it wants. But I mean, you know, he said there about talking about British energy bills. I'd like to say I think it's a scandal that middle-class Americans can't afford healthcare because of the changes that they've made. And also, you know, he's talking about Paul Novak. I would say, what about Rennie Nicole Good or Alex Pretty, shot dead by ICE officers in their performative ICE roundup?
You mean Henry Novak?
Sorry, Henry Novak, yeah, forgive me. You know, I think the issue is maybe the Prime Minister wasn't the Prime Minister when he made those comments. He was in opposition. Once you're in government, there's a thing called diplomacy and there's a thing called allies. And the Americans seem to have forgotten about both of those things. It's not... I don't think, actually, our Prime Minister should be, and he hasn't, as Prime Minister, stood up and made those party political points about the US.
Well, what about...
neither should the Americans be making it about here.
All right, well, what about all those comments about President Donald Trump, calling him all the names that they've called him and all the other stuff?
They weren't when he was in government.
Yeah, but that's irrelevant.
No, it's not irrelevant.
And there have been points where they have called him names when he has been.
He hasn't. He absolutely hasn't called him. He hasn't called him names in government. It's about diplomacy and about governments, you know, realising they shouldn't interfere in the politics of another country. Look, I'm not saying everybody needs to agree with the Prime Minister. Look at our panel here today. What I am saying is that it is not the job of JD Vance to interfere. The truth of the matter is the fact that that Nigel Farage is Donald Trump's, you know, sort of pound shop sidekick is Nigel Farage's real weakness, and reform strategists know that. So guess what? He's trying to distance himself from Donald Trump, who's about to suffer in the midterm elections a huge defeat of the American people.
So you can intervene if you're in opposition and in government, but you
I think
can't
in opposition
intervene.
you can make more political comments.
But no.
I think you should.
Well, no, it's either one. Either you can or you can't. So you're saying, hang on, let me speak. I've listened to you.
Of course.
So you can intervene when you're in the opposition budding government and say what you like about another country's president or prime minister or whatever. But when you're in government, you're not allowed to say anything. Is that what you're saying? That's what you've just said?
I think what I'm saying is you can be more political when you're in opposition. I think you can still choose your words carefully because you're campaigning and you are not the government. You're not a diplomat. You're not representing the country. You're representing a party. Once you're the Prime Minister or a minister, you're representing the country.
So that will justify the words Nazi sympathiser and all those things.
You give me a single example, Nana, where anybody has said he's a Nazi sympathiser. Certainly, the Prime Minister hasn't.
Well, wasn't that David Lammy? He called Donald Trump a neo-Nazi.
It was much more nuanced than that, what he said.
No, I don't think it was. I'll find you the exact quote. But whilst I'm doing that, let's go to you, Jane.
I think that's a really shaky argument to say if you're in opposition, what you say doesn't matter. You know, these people are shadow Home Secretaries, shadow ministers. David Lammy's comments on Trump have been well.
Do you think it's right that Vance is interfering in our politics?
Did you object when President Obama intervened on Brexit?
He didn't. What he said. Let's be absolutely
clear. He said we would be pushed to the back of the queue.
That was an intervention.
Absolutely. No, it wasn't an intervention.
So that is an intervention.
Because it was about his responsibility. He was in charge as the US president about who gets a trade deal. So he was talking about what he would do. JD Vance is not in charge of Hampshire Police last time I noticed.
It was a direct threat that there would be a consequence if people voted to leave the European Union.
He was explaining what would happen. He would do is his policy. Of course,
but that's the back of the line, Q, whichever was written by number 10.
He was talking about his policy.
It was written by number 10. The language was...
It wasn't written by number 10. It was... But you're just trying to avoid the issue.
I'm not.
Your party is like that with the failed president who's putting our world at risk. All those pictures of Nigel hanging around with the gold staircase in the States, embarrassment now. You don't get those out in your leaflets, do you?
2016, we were proud of it, absolutely.
Are you proud of Donald Trump now?
Well, he is the leader of a friendly nation. So
you back the Iran war?
Yes, he is a friendly nation. Yes. But you've got to remember that America is our friend. You may not like this...
You think that's friendly?
Hold on. You've been baffling on. America is our friend. The American people are our friends. They are an allied nation. Mr. Trump is not going to be in office beyond this general election, our general election. We have permanent allies in America. We have permanent interests shared with the English-speaking world. And to just rant about America in the way you just have...
I've not ranted about America, Gawain. Don't patronise me, please, my friend.
Hold on.
You're trying to distance yourself from Trump because you know that it's the biggest weakness for your party.
We were proud of winning that, and I was actually
Are you proud of the Iran war, then, that you backed and then you changed your mind when you saw the opinion poll?
Did you hear me say that?
Your party does.
Did you hear me say that?
Can I ask, then, are you proud of Iraq? That's your party, Tony Blair.
I do. By the way, I do think we should have left the Chagos Islands.
Can you answer that?
To let the Americans use the Chagos Islands. Yes, I do think we should have done.
Can you let him answer that? Are you proud of Iraq?
I don't understand that point about the...
during the Iran war?
Yes. Hang on, Gwen. I asked this. Are you proud of Iraq, then?
I think that ultimately the Iraq war was a mistake. And I think and I'll tell you who said that, the Prime Minister. So, I mean, I don't think you can
made a mess
of course. Have things the Labour Party's done in its entire history, everything right? Of course not.
Our relationship, I think, with the Chagos, the air bases, when we refused...
Trump backs the Chagos deal.
And then changed his mind. That was so damaging. It was so damaging when the Iran... action kicked off.
All distractions from the fact that Kemi and Nigel backed Iran until they saw the opinion polls.
You're overstating the case.
Backing Iran, backing using the air bases. Our defence depends on the United States of America. We could not defend ourselves.
We could not get a ship next to Cyprus. Without America.
Our latest one is...
We have no defence without America. If we continue to attack our main allies, we have no defence.
You back Donald Trump. And
no, I back Britain. The problem is, if you want to back Britain, you have to allow the American as our allies. And if you keep on attacking...
We are allies with the United States, but it doesn't mean that we say yes to everything Trump does. It doesn't mean
I agree.
Up to somebody who is deeply, deeply unpleasant and is wrong on almost everything, which is what your party does.
Keir Starmer changed
He's absolutely right
his
to block the borders. He's absolutely right on a whole series of things. So, no, he's not wrong on everything. You yourself said you didn't want mass migration coming in here. You wouldn't but people coming illegally in. Actually, that's what Trump's been doing in America.
The shooting of people like the two people.
No, I said the borders.
The point is,
I said the borders.
The point is.
You'll notice our police don't carry guns.
You're getting angry.
No, my dear.
No, you are getting. Don't call me my dear. You are angry, Gawain, because you know that Donald Trump is the weak spot of Nigel Farage, which is why suddenly he's not. I mean, I know he doesn't go to Clacton very much, but at least he's going to Mar-a-Lago rather less.
Matthew, were you angry when Obama deported 3 million people?
He didn't have eyes because it was within the law. I think that I personally, I'm not the Prime Minister. You may say, thank goodness. I'm not the Prime Minister. I therefore can say what I like about Donald Trump. I'm not a government minister.
Of course you can.
But the government does not criticise the internal politics of the United States, which is what JD Vance is doing here, which is why JD Vance has made a fool of himself. Take the Hungarian example. He went to Hungary. He thinks that everything before him goes right.
They did criticise the ICE shooting.
And of course, guess who
This government did criticise Nigel. This government did criticise the ICE shootings, by the way, as did we. Because as British people, we do not routinely have armed police, and we quite like it, thank you very much. I prefer to keep it that way. We also have jury trials, which, oh dear. What's going to happen to them?
Hang on, I thought we were going to have ICE-style people on the streets. Otherwise, your policy... That's Mr. Lowe, who you're now divorced
Matthew,
from.
you're being absurd.
I'm not being absurd.
I didn't say... nobody said... We said ICE-style.
I get
British,
who's in Reform and who's in Restore, who's in Advance.
We don't carry guns.
Right-wing parties.
We don't carry guns. And that's a good thing. And long may that last.
Well, I think we agree on that.
So, therefore, the chance of British
can I just ask you a question,
immigration
I'm confused.
the chance for the British immigration officer shooting somebody is very slim because they won't have a gun.
So there was a difference between you and Restore, which is Rupert Lowe's outfit. Is it? Have I got the name right? There's so many of them. You don't believe in the mass deportations that he talks about? I'm just genuinely...
We believe that nobody here illegally should stay here.
So how will they go? So how will they be rounded up under Reform?
Well, initially,
government?
what you do is you make the situation uncomfortable for those who are here illegally. That's how.
OK,
so
but will you actually be rounding
First, you stop the illegal migration, as we discussed earlier in this programme.
Labour have also been getting rid of people who aren't here legally.
Do you not believe that people who are here illegally should
Absolutely,
be?
which is why the number of
how would you
people
get rid of
leaving
them? How would you get rid of them?
The law?
How would you get rid of them?
Because they're being...
How do you get rid of the million illegal migrants if you do not...
bragging about doing this at the moment.
Yes, because people are being sent back when they have failed in the system. This is not
One
rounding
for
people
one,
up in the streets who are already here.
So that's
One
not
for
an
one.
issue if Labour are doing it, but it would be if anyone else...
And let's go back to the original point, which is there's a real choice in British politics between those who would say, yes, 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 anything Donald Trump wants,
actually,
doff their hats...
The original point...
Hang out
Matthew,
embarrassingly...
The original point... The original point...
And those who stand up for Britain. I know who stand up for Britain. It's not you.
The original point... That's rubbish. But the original point...
Oh, you don't like it when your party is criticised for not standing up for Britain, do you?
We do stand up for Britain. You haven't. You've failed. Look at Lord Hermer. Look at the giveaway of the Chagos. Look at the way...
Which Trump backs.
I don't care what Trump says. I don't care what Trump says. I care what's in the interest of this country.
Trump
always have. That's all I care about. Always. Now, you talk about... We were talking... We go back to the point, is that Vance criticised the British two-tier policing. That's what the point was. And how dare he? And yet, people in this country, and opposition and in government, have criticised the Americans' behaviour, be it in Iran, be it here, be it there, be it everywhere. That's what they do. On climate change, on things of this sort, they constantly criticise the American regime. So it is hardly unusual for a friend to be critical. I'm sure that you and I can be critical of each other, and that's OK.
It is not OK for him to do...
It's not OK to criticise a friend.
It is... we're talking about allies and we're talking about diplomacy. Vance hasn't shown it. Vance is an absolute idiot anyway, because this is the man who came to power saying that he didn't want any wars, and now, oh, guess what? We're in an Iranian war.
Well, nobody wants a war.
Total disaster. Donald Trump does, and he's going to pay the price for his failure in Iran.
First term, Donald Trump didn't have any wars at all. He was the first president who didn't.
Well, he's got re-elected on a false premise then, hasn't he?
Well, things happen. Things change, as you well know.
He does.
All right, well, what do you think at home? GBNews.com/ your favourite right now. Time for the Great British Giveaway and your chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash. Here are the details.
This is the chance to enjoy the summer of your dreams, as we could be making all of those dreams come true this year with a totally tax-free £76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash to be won.
Someone really has to win it, and it could be you. What would you do with all that cash?
That could be your year on us.
Or find yourself in the lap of five-star luxury. Somewhere like here, the Imperial Island Resort in Paphos. There's one guaranteed winner, and that really could be you. So make sure you don't miss out.
For a chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck indeed. Now stay with us because coming up, all of Sunday's front pages, including the breaking news that on the front page of the Times, police tried to intervene in the Novak trial. It's reporting that at critical point in the murder case, Hampshire police wanted to release a statement about disinformation. I'll bring you those details. Before that, as we review D-Day commemorations, is Britain the leading military power we once were? This is Alex Armstrong tonight with me, Nana Akua, only on GB News.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it? We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the late edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good evening. Welcome back to Alex Armstrong Tonight with me, Nana Akua, only on GB News. Now, today marks the 82nd anniversary of D-Day. It is the largest seaborne invasion in military history. Thousands gathered across Normandy to honour the Allied troops who stormed the beaches on June the 6th in 1944. They turned the tide of the Second World War. Right, fast forward to today, and breaking on tomorrow's Daily Mail, or Mail on Sunday evening, an entire fleet of subs are unfit for war and stuck in the dock. I mean, this is so shameful. But before we get stuck into the debate about whether we are the leading military power, which we once were, I think we all know the answer, GB News' national reporter Charlie Peters has this special report from Normandy.
On the 6th of June 1944, some 160,000 Allied forces landed on the beaches of Normandy across 5 different sectors to begin the liberation of France, Europe and then the rest of the world. They were Canadian, American, British and a significant 177 French commandos on board those landing ships and those airborne forces. And after them came millions more who fought in the Battle of Normandy. Well, today we remembered those who fought throughout that period, not just the landings, remembering the sacrifices they made and what they secured for the generations that followed. Among them was Ken Hay, who spoke to GB News and explained why he felt it was a duty for him to be there every single year.
It's our duty to come back, as well as wanting to be back, because, as I was saying earlier, to a lot of people there's just a series of names, and they are to us. But suddenly we come to a name, and we knew that guy. There's one down there, Danny Circus. I served with him. I know what a lovely man he was. Terrible waste that he dies.
Well, we have had commemorative memorial services on the beach at the British Normandy Memorial Centre, and also here at Bayeux, the other cemetery where so many Allied personnel are buried, over 4,000 in fact. There are several nationalities represented here: South African, Italian, German, Czechoslovakian. But there is, as it says here, on the memory of driver D.H. Cage, on his tombstone, there's some corner of a foreign field that is Forever England. That is the message that is being sent from this area in Normandy and across Europe, as thousands have gathered to commemorate and remember those who fought and fell to secure our freedoms.
Yeah, that's a brilliant Charlie Peters out there in Normandy, and all those people who lost their lives for this country. And I suspect if they were to be able to see it now, I'm not sure they'd be impressed. And I'm not sure they'd be impressed with the state of our armed forces and the equipment that's there, because apparently 5 of our sort of subs that would be carrying nuclear weapons, I think that's are actually stuck in dry dock, because they are, well, they need maintenance and they're not moving anywhere. And the sad thing is, you imagine in Russia, they would never tell the people about the state of the military equipment. But in this country, we tell everybody everything. Vladimir Putin has been circling the coast of this country, and we've done nothing about it, probably checking out the state of everything. I mean, Matthew Laza, this is quite shameful, isn't it? A bit embarrassing.
I mean, look, absolutely, there's no doubt that this is very humiliating. I mean, first of all, that's a fantastic piece from Charlie, and it reminds us all of the sacrifice of what really were the greatest generation. Of course, you know, there is a parallel, which is in 1939, while defences were in a shocking state, and they shouldn't have been then, and they shouldn't be now. And I think we need a national consensus to do it. The government is dragging its feet on deciding how much extra money it's going to spend. It looks like we're going to get an announcement in the next few days that the Treasury and the Ministry of Defence have reached agreement. But the key thing I would say is, in order to give our brave men and women in the armed forces the tools they need to do the job, we need to make sure that the defence procurement, when we do spend the money, that we actually get what they need for the money. And I'm actually quite pleased that, for example, on the new aircraft that we're working on with allies, they're going to shift it out of the Ministry of Defence, which has had a terrible record of doing it, and actually get central control on it from the Cabinet Office, the Treasury and number 10, so that these aircraft are there, so the Air Force doesn't face the same thing as the Navy. But clearly, the government probably hasn't done enough in the last 2 years. But this is a decades-long story.
But Keir Starmer had a meeting with Rachel Reeves on Tuesday where they discussed spending. Apparently, it was 18 billion, and then it turns out that it's likely to come down to 15 billion. So they're not even actually talking about spending more money. And I think this is slightly embarrassing, really shameful, and an utter disgrace, because the rule of the number one thing that a government should do is take care of its people first, and not basically via welfare, which is, I think, the real problem.
I mean, look, I think the government. I mean, you don't build a warship in overnight. I'm not saying the government has got everything right on defence since it came to power, but clearly, including the Labour governments, people of the 90s and the 90s and noughties, everybody thought the peace dividend was there. They thought they could take the foot off the gas collectively. We did that, and that's what it ends with this.
Well, it's true, isn't it? The foot came off the gas when the Tories got in power.
Well, I think we've over-relied on NATO for a long time now, and the United States, basically. I think that's the same for so many European countries that were even worse than us at spending on defence. But none of them are in the state we're in. I mean, we're getting help from everybody else to help us. We've got nothing. We are, but I think expanding. Labour said they talked big in opposition. They came in. We've waited so long to hear how they're going to increase the spending and actually get some progress.
Yeah, but we're not impressed with Labour right now, but the Tories allowed this slide to happen.
It was economically a really tough gig when they came to power in 2010 after the global financial crash. We've then had the pandemic. I think now that focus, I'm glad President Trump, you can love him or hate him or sort of try and take a balanced view, he has actually put the frighteners on Europe. We are seeing people preparing better. We're seeing the UK wanting to prepare better. But I think it is just an open, easy answer for me, because the careers you can have, the apprenticeships you can have in the armed forces, there is an opportunity to really make progress on youth unemployment, an opportunity in our young people, foster that sense of British pride and identity. And I think we missed a trick in the last Parliament. I hope Labour will grasp it. But if they don't cut the benefits bill, I don't think this money is going to be there. And can I just really quickly mention on Charlie's lovely piece on D-Day, we have so few veterans left, and Wolverhampton lost Bill Redston, aged 101, one of our D-Day veterans. So rest in peace, Bill.
Of course, there's time for that. I feel really bad now.
No, it's all right.
I didn't know you were going to say that. Don't tell me.
No, it's just depressing, isn't it? I think what's happened ever since 1989, as was mentioned, the peace dividend. We've spent the peace dividend 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. Yeah. But to a certain extent, it's our fault, and to a certain extent, it's the fault of our politicians. Election after election, we have been bribed with our own money to spend on welfare and nice things, fluffy things, things that make us feel good. Army, military things aren't nice things. Let's not spend money on that. But this is where it gets us. And I actually take issue with the 1939 point. If Chamberlain hadn't done what he'd done by doubling the defence budget, I think, in 1937, we wouldn't have been able to fight in 1939. And he did that against the wishes of the Treasury, and he actually, Chamberlain has been traduced. He saw that we weren't ready and really dug in. I don't think, because of what we, the politicians, have been telling people for such a long time, I do not think the people of this country realise it's not a question of, you can do both. You can't. So
you have to make choices.
You have to make choices. And I don't think we have given the people of this country those choices, both Labour and Tories, over the last 30, 40 years, since the fall of the Berlin Wall, have basically lied to us.
I think they've demonised the idea that we have Trident and nuclear weapons and things like that.
It's not just that. We've closed down regiments, closed down regiments.
They've demonised this country for so-called colonialisation, and anything that appears to be something that would be potentially doing that, they have not put investment.
We say we've got five submarines in dock.
Yeah.
That's the entire fleet.
Yeah, that is the fleet, yeah. Although I really want to see that clip of John Healey trying to tell us how many ships we have, because I find.
Do you remember that test on Trident? Do you remember that test on Trident when they sent up when was it Gavin Williamson went out? No, or whatever. When they tested Trident and it went.
Oh dear.
And just landed in the sea next to the boat. I mean,
I don't want to laugh.
And you've got the Greens saying that, we can just basically hold our hands up to Putin, everybody will be... The world is full of nice people. It isn't.
No, it really isn't.
Nature doesn't work like that.
Well, the Greens would get rid of all of that, so if you're going to vote for those people, then good luck with that. We'll stay with us, though, next, because we'll get you all the details in the shocking breaking news on tomorrow's Sunday Times. Apparently, police tried to intervene in the Novak trial. It is reporting that at a critical point in the murder case, Hampshire police wanted to release a statement about disinformation. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you shortly.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're heading away this weekend, well, you've picked a good time as high pressure dominates much of Europe. Lots of sunshine, mostly dry as well. Across the Canary Islands, temperatures climbing towards the high 20s, a little bit fresher in Madeira. But for Portugal, much of Spain, as well as Italy, as we look towards parts of Greece and Turkey too. High pressure dominates. There's the odd shower around through Sunday across Greece in particular. But high pressure really is dominating next week to bring plenty of sunshine and temperatures in the high 20s. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, Sunday is promising to be a warmer day for many of us, particularly in the east in any sunshine, but there will be some further spells of rain in the north and the west. So today's area of low pressure now clearing away into the southern parts of the North Sea, but it's this wiggling weather front that will start to push in as we go through the course of tonight and into Sunday. So whilst it will turn a little bit dry through the course of this evening for most of us, even some clear spells, particularly across parts of England and Wales, we'll continue to see further outbreaks of rain and low cloud affecting parts of North East Scotland, and some heavier outbreaks of rain pushing back into Northern Ireland by the end of the night. But for most, it turns drier, and further east, we'll see some clear spells, so temperatures perhaps could dip into kind of high single figures in some rural areas. But across North East Scotland, we'll hold on to quite a lot of low clouds and quite murky conditions as well. Some outbreaks of rain and drizzle for Shetland and Orkney first thing on Sunday morning. Some more persistent rain pushing back into southwest Scotland, so parts of Ayrshire and Argyll, for example, and certainly Northern Ireland as well. Some heavy bursts of rain developing here through the morning. The odd spit and spot of rain or light shower across parts of Wales and the southwest, but actually many areas of England and Wales will begin the day on Sunday with a lot of dry weather, and actually some hazy sunshine for eastern England and eastern Scotland for a time on Sunday too. So here that should help to lift those temperatures, and actually a much warmer day to come, perhaps by the afternoon temperatures into the low 20s for many. Further west though, we continue to see spells of rain pushing in from the Atlantic, particularly across Northern Ireland, northwest England and western Scotland. Some heavy bursts of rain here, but a warmer day nonetheless, 18 or 19 degrees in the north and the west. The rain pushes southeastwards on Sunday night, so a wet day to come for many parts of England and Wales. Some heavy bursts of rain at times pushing their way slowly eastwards, so pretty damp and soggy picture for much of the day in the east and the southeast. Brighter skies with showers follow, and that sets the scene for the week ahead. Quite unsettled and cool, showery, and temperatures a little bit below average.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches,
From football to tennis in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News breakfast is there.
with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hello, good evening and welcome to Alex Armstrong Tonight with me, Nana Aquia. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio, only on GB News. Now it's time to bring you tomorrow's front pages. So on the front cover of the Sunday Express, Labour delays Leave Britain week at time of war. The Mail on Sunday, entire fleet of UK attack subs is unfit for war and stuck in the dock. The Observer leads with the forgotten war. Sunday Times, police tried to intervene in the Novak trial. Right, let's get the thoughts of my panel. I'll go straight to the Sunday Times because I want to start with this one. The police apparently tried to intervene in the Novak trial. Yes, at a critical point in the murder case, the force wanted to release a statement about disinformation. Wow. An interesting story. Sadly, I can't read it because the writing is too small and I've become very old. I noticed that I was losing my sight when I tried to read the instructions on my makeup. I couldn't read it.
They write it very small.
They
Nana.
do. I think they've got
tiny.
smaller. But this is shocking that there is way more to this story. And when I saw that awful footage of that poor young lad, the way they treated him and disrespected him in a way and prioritised somebody saying that somebody said something racist to me was horrifying. But I did wonder when that body cam footage stopped, because we got about 3 minutes of it, what happened after that? How soon was it before they then went to get help? How soon did they realise? And that is you know, such a horrendous thought. But now for them to even be apparently trying to intervene in that trial, you know, we'll be reading that. It's on the front cover of the Sunday Times. I mean, what do you think around this, Jane?
I think that the case has now become so important for so many people. Having watched that body cam footage, nobody could fail to be incredibly upset and moved about it. And we do want to see something significant.
Yeah.
You know, this is not a time for thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
This is a time for really having a forensic look at what has gone wrong with DEI in the police force and what those officers... I have a little sympathy for the police because they do run into situations none of us would want to run into. And they, as far as they had been told, they were attending an incident. And I think on the audio recording, they said they'd been physically and verbally attacked in a racial incident. So the officers were attending. It was dark, but... Henry, he clearly couldn't sit up. And at that point, you would have just hoped people would. But I think people now want to know all the detail. We want to see. And the killer, you know, is just a disgrace. I'm so sad it's reflected on the Sikh community. I've grown up around the Sikh community. We've got the second biggest one in Britain, in Wolverhampton. The killer had been ostracised from his local Gurdwara. And I think I'm just sorry it's reflected badly on Sikhs who have such proud values and have served in our military so valiantly. And on D-Day, I think it's appropriate to mention their service as well. So,
Go on, Towler.
I think we are seeing an example, two-tier policing or whatever. We know that if anybody else if during the court case you had said something about the way the case was going, you would have been the producers would have shouted down your ear hole, it's subjudice, you cannot make a statement. The fact that the police themselves were thinking of making a statement. And don't forget, we may just have seen that horrendous film. They've seen that film from day one. They knew from day one. And they've been that film has been in the police, and Alexis Boone, the Chief Constable of Hampshire, I will not resign. I don't think it's going to be up to you for very much longer, mate.
You're right there.
Oh, sorry, mate. Sir. I'm sorry, when I was growing up, the police would say sir to people, not I don't think you do, mate. He's not your mate. He's a fellow citizen.
Absolutely.
It is absolutely wrong. This sort of chummy, faux bonhomie rubbish.
Yep.
I think it all... Well, I would say this, wouldn't I? But I think when it went from the police force to the police service, things changed, attitudes changed. It became this chummy. But they're not chummy. Yeah. They're not chummy. They treat people... What do they say? What's a conservative, a liberal that's been arrested? The way that this has gone on, and this idea, the very idea they wanted to put something out of disinformation, what? To change the... why?
Yeah,
why?
It is absolutely extraordinary.
Well, this guy has to go.
Well, of course, OK, so this is the... I mean, if you just tuned in, people might be wondering what we're talking about. This is about the police force at the centre of the Henry Novak scandal, and they basically tried to intervene during the murderer's trial in a highly sort of unusual move. Now, this is on the front cover of the Sunday Times. The Hampshire police apparently sought to release a public statement to address what is described as disinformation circulated online whilst court proceedings were at a critical point against Vikram Digwa. However, the Crown Prosecution Service advised the force that such a step could jeopardise the integrity of the case. Now, the revelation about the planned intervention is likely to put a lot of pressure on the beleaguered force and its Chief Constable Alexis Boone, because the conduct of its own officers was under scrutiny during the trial. So that is quite shocking.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, Gawain and I may disagree on some things, but we agree on this. I mean, I think that the position of the Chief Constable, Alexis Boone, is becoming untenable now. I mean, it's extraordinary to issue a statement, to try and issue a statement, to want to issue a statement in the middle of court proceedings, to try and do disinformation. This isn't disinformation where sometimes now they issue statements, to say, to try and calm things down. It isn't X or it isn't Y when a crime has just happened, when proceedings haven't started. But this is when the trial was well underway, and they want what was the misinformation? Yeah. We suspect the misinformation was actually not misinformation, but the real information that has since come out.
And we have
this is extraordinary. I don't think he's long
we
for
need
his job.
The detail now.
Yeah.
It is part of the modern world that nobody ever takes responsibility. Yeah. Nobody ever resigns. If Chief Constable Boone wishes to protect his officers and do the right thing by his officers, who I agree don't necessarily know what they're going to come up with when they get there, and they've been told X, Y, and Z. If he wants to protect them, he should do the decent thing and go.
Absolutely.
He should take responsibility for their actions because he is their boss.
Gawain, I agree with you about this mate stuff and, you know, the police has changed so much, but that, again, it's their training. You can't blame the, you know, rank-and-file policemen. This is what they're
probably get into trouble if they didn't say mate, if they called somebody
exactly.
sir or madam.
I suspect they're going, oh, be friendly with people. You know, we saw officers taking the knee. They have got knotted up in this kind of...
Well, David Lammy seems to think that we should treat people differently dependent on maybe some religious stuff or whatever. I mean, I find it
before
shocking.
the law, that's the greatest thing, apart from maybe our language, that this country has, is the concept of equality before the law. And it predates democracy by hundreds of years.
But this has been coming
we have to move on, but we will come back to all of this because we'll give you the rest of Sunday's front pages as the Telegraph features a warning for the government that it might need the IMF, so that's the International Monetary Fund, to rescue the economy. Yeah. Well done, Rachel.
Well done, Rachel.
Yeah, give her a round of applause. We all knew it, but sadly she couldn't say it. Right, this is Alex Armstrong tonight with me, Nana Akwe, only on GB News.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. From 11, only on GB News.
Now, GB News' motto could be, bring me your cancelled masses yearning to breathe free. And so I'm delighted to give him a platform on this programme. Delighted to say that Mario joins me now. Mario, I'm sorry you find yourself in this position. Shall we just recap for a moment why you believe that the Elgin Marble should remain in the British Museum? You've argued that on this programme before, but it was a while ago.
Absolutely. There are two orders of reasons. One is that the Greek claim is basically bogus because it's made on the assumption that they were stolen, which is completely false and unsupported by the extant historical documentation, which is quite clear. We have the grant of permission, even in translation. We have plenty of witnesses at the time who were in Athens who saw this permission in the original and who say Lord Elgin was empowered to do whatever he did because of this permission. So this is one way. The other reason is that now they are an integral part of British culture and an integral part, a fundamental asset of the British Museum. So even if you have full sympathy for the Greek aspiration to recompose an ancient monument that has been broken, first of all, this is not possible anymore because 1/3 of the decoration is gone and they are not putting whatever is remaining back on the temple. And second of all, you cannot break another cultural asset, another cultural collection that has had such a profound impact in our cultural history, in Western civilization cultural history, and just because of a nationalistic view.
I understand.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Good evening. Right, let's return to those front pages. On the front cover of the Mirror, nothing to see here. You get it? It's the C. Nigel Farage in that one, so we know what they're talking about there. The Sunday Telegraph, FA knew of complaints against Sullivan. The front cover of The Sun, Pep and the TV star. And also some more details of the smaller story on the Telegraph. Labour risks being forced to seek emergency help from the International Monetary Fund, otherwise known as the IMF, as Britain lurches towards a debt crisis. Leading economists have warned. Yes, it's a shot to the Labour leadership. Hopefully, hopeful Andy Burnham and the former IMF chief economist Ken Fogstaff, who said a major UK debt crisis before the end of the decade was now more likely than not. He said that repeated shocks, including COVID, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and the Iran war had left the country exposed to a more than 50-50 chance of a crisis by 2030. They forgot to add in there and their Chancellor Rachel Reeves, who's just a complete debt herself. I mean, honestly, the things that she's come up with, she's actually begging supermarkets to put their prices down. You know, what a joke. Why is she not able to get the welfare bill down? Why are we taking in less in taxes than we're spending on welfare? Yeah. It's astonishing, Matthew Laza. You know I'm coming for you.
Yeah, I anticipated it. And fair enough. Look, I mean, I think that this is. I mean, what's interesting about this story is it is, as you say, a shot across the bows of anybody who wants to be the next Labour leader. Because as we saw this week in the Mandelson files, when Pat McFadden, who was the sort of Prime Minister's enforcer at the time, he's now the welfare secretary, was saying that all Labour MPs ever said to him is, "What can we tax to spend on welfare?" That is not sustainable. I say to all my comrades, we can't keep taxing, we can't keep borrowing. We talked earlier about choices. We have to make some choices. And I think probably that's the government's biggest failure, has not been setting out what choices it will make. You know, welfare is necessary. We need a welfare state. We need a welfare system. But we can't have a welfare system that's out of control, and we can't have taxes that just go one way, and we can't borrow more than people will lend us.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
I'm sorry. You're right about Pat McFadden. I don't blame him. He was just dealing with what he was confronted with. But the Labour Parliamentary Party is not willing or prepared to do anything about it. Yeah. And somebody coming in who says he's the bond markets, let's not worry about the bond markets, but he's changed his mind about that.
But he keeps changing his mind.
Well, no, this is the thing.
Then he keeps going the other way again.
And also, one thing that's not been mentioned there, with all these things, is net zero. Net zero is crucifying our ability to be productive and to work and get in with investment. And God knows what else.
Well, God knows what else, for goodness sake. What can Rachel do about this? Perhaps cut the welfare bill. Gwen Taylor, thank you very much. I know you're going, but the other two are staying. A whole load more news to bring you. Up next, of course, Alex Armstrong tonight. The late edition will bring you all of those updates on the papers. But first, let's get your all-important weather. Do not go anywhere.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, Sunday is promising to be a warmer day for many of us, particularly in the east in any sunshine, but there will be some further spells of rain in the north and the west. So today's area of low pressure now clearing away into the southern parts of the North Sea, but it's this wiggling weather front that will start to push in as we go through the course of